Is the Master Assassin ninja enough in Ties of Torment? Since someone asked, let's look over the Master Assassin in the Eshin context and go over him in general. Recruited for 900 gold and 225 upkeep on Ultra Scale, they sneak in at 3,688 health. Much like the regular assassins, they have armor 30 and physical resistance 30%, and while that's situational, in the sense a lot has magical attack, that which does not has a 30% harder time chewing through that HP. Leadership 65 is decent for Skaven. Speed 54 and charge speed 60 are what we'd expect, to the point I had to squint and realize Snitch actually has a faster charge speed when I did his script. Melee attack 60 is nowhere remotely bad. Each attack inflicts Weeping Blade. See my video thereof for what combos well with it. It's 35 seconds of minus 50% armor per smacking. Again, nothing bad, just we're looking at Clan Eshin, and this is marginally impactful for Knight and Gutter Runners at range. Highly impactful in melee. Attack interval 3.8 seconds is on the brisk side, less downtime between animations, splash target size medium, but wildly unlike Snitch, max targets damaged by splash is 3, and splash doesn't extend beyond single entities / characters or other so-called high-threat foes. I can't say single entity characters, there are some special ones like the Sisters of Twilight, Three-Headed Heroes, and so on as package deals. Melee defense 45 is decent enough. Weapon strength of 380 is a bit on the lower side if judged against pure melee lords, but the split is base 150 and armor piercing 230. This means it favors armor penetration, but the Master Assassin will significantly benefit from his own Weeping Blade too. Moreover, there is a bonus versus infantry of 20, damage split along the same ratio, but that means melee attack 80 versus foot characters at rank 1. Charge bonus is 60, which is very high for a foot character, on par with much slower but hard-hitting greenskin lords, and mass is 500, meaning he's easy to ragdoll. Nonetheless, cycle charging is a thought with him. So far we have a fairly rounded character, flimsy against magical attack and spirit leech, significantly less so against mundane threats. But he also has a ranged component. Ammunition begins at 40 volleys. Range is 125 meters. Before we move on, folks, Night Runner shurikens run 70 meters, Gutter Runners run 80, both slings run 140. 125 range for shurikens is enormous. Barring special item drops or other circumstances, he doesn't have snipe, but as basically the only ranged character, except for Ikit Claw individually or high-level Warlock Masters on Doom Wheels, he's likely to get one of your ranged weapons or ranged item drops. Actual missile damage from a hit is base 50 damage and armor piercing 25 damage, with a damage-only bonus versus infantry of 20, meaning that it'll be per shuriken missile strength 95, of which 2/3 will be base damage. What is the trick? The nominal missile strength says 375. And also these shurikens do poison with each hit for its usual effects. Well, it's 3 shurikens per volley, and you can do 40 of these by default with a reload time of 6.0 seconds. Its musket trajectory, I couldn't tell you if shields can block them or not. Total accuracy of 80 is extreme sniper level. Calibration distance 100 meters means it only gets a little less accurate past that. Calibration area 0.5 meters means that its default adjusted by total accuracy that has a standard value of 20, which is 80 here, is already super tight. And there is a medium penetration cap and a maximum targets penetrated of 5. That's like an Empire Engineer, but you're firing 3 shurikens as a volley. Thus, we have a well-rounded character who is able to be used in the vanguard, quietly helping the army, and or participating in close combat. He could even Weeping Blade some Chaos Warriors, retreat, and shuriken while retreating. On that note, his traits are Stalk, Vanguard Deployment, Strider for no movement penalties, Fire whilst moving, and he's a 360-degree thrower, Scurry away, and here's the deal with Concealment Bombs. In multiplayer, the Master Assassin gets access to these to be unspottable for a long duration, as in, he's only exposed at very close range, but doesn't have snipe, so if he fires, he'll be exposed that way. In campaign, assassins and Eshin sorcerers can access the bombs through their skill trees, but the Master Assassin neither begins with this, nor can he acquire them through his skill tree. On the other hand, he can slip away at range and vanish from view that way, and he can be effective with a ranged weapon the others can't, otherwise considered an oversight. and an Eshin sorcerer with Skitter Leap can get him into Unspottable also, but it's for a shorter duration. For the skill tree, Tougher Than He Seems can be selected at any rank so long as you have a pip to spend, giving him plus 10% hit points right away, instantly making him tankier and sturdier. 13% sturdier against non-magical opponents. Sneaky and Tricksy are the standard missile resistance and spell resistance 1-pip wonders. Rat Fu gives him heavy bonuses against enemy heroes, but few attack lords in this game version. While the blue and red line skills are exactly the same as others, meaning he can benefit from Ancient Cunning a fair bit, the real thing to go over is Infiltrator for a maximum of plus 10% speed and 9% reload time reduction for Knight and Gutter runners, and only them. Respected and Feared for a max of melee attack plus 6 and weapon strength plus 9% for Storm Vermin, Triads, and Death runners, and Gutter Wise for rank 7 and up Eshin units, for leadership plus 5, speed plus 20% for the Triads and Death runners only, and range plus 15% for Knight and Gutter runners only. The tech tree contains an additional plus 10% weapon and missile strength for the skirmisher runners. The Master Assassin has a distinctive combat line. Let's take a good look. Tail weapon is our usual plus 3 melee attack and plus 4% melee weapon strength, but it's not like that's bad. 2 pips of Ruin and Decay is weapon strength plus 5% more, but a bonus plus 10% against tons of good races. 2 pips of Deadeye gives the character ammunition plus 30% and reload time reduction 15%, which is pretty crazy. But even with this reduction, he needs time to make use of that ammo. Blade Master is plus 12 melee attack at 2 pips, Indomitable is plus 12 leadership at 2, Midway pip is Slippery. No fatigue reduction, but plus 25% speed is good, and plus 24 melee defense is also good. Wound Maker gives plus 20% weapon strength at 2, Scarred Veteran plus 15% health at 2. Piercing Shots is the big aberrant one here for missile strength plus 15% at 2 pips, Expeditions Endeavor plus 15% speed at 2. And Deadly Onslaught for its predictable plus 25% weapon strength and plus 60% charge bonus. So this is for when you're out of shurikens and bubblegum and need to sort things out. For his personal line, this will be distinct from Snitch, but it opens up at the super early rank 6. Expert Ambusher is what I consider to be Baby Jump Scare, granting plus 15% ambush success chance and plus 50% leadership aura for the Lord himself during ambushes, be it yours or someone else's, preferably yours. None of the pips after are mutually exclusive, in fact you need to pick all 3 to unlock the capstone. Stab in the Back buffs the Lord, granting him speed plus 20% and missile strength plus 15%. Concealment Bombs is not for him. It's to give that ability to Knight and Gutter runners. A good thing, but probably its best case, is for backstabbing weak archers in melee, where shurikens would be wasted, and if you're using the sudden kill scheme in the Eshin Rites, but that's 1 turn with a 30-turn cooldown. Majestic when using it though. Shuriken Jutsu grants missile strength plus 10% to all of the skirmisher runner units, and despite the name, yes it applies to slings. No joke, this is the basis for doomstacking or quasi-doomstacking them with a Master Assassin, because this is an advantage Snitch doesn't give them. Oh, he gives them some stuff, plus 10% speed can't be wrong, but he doesn't have this simple increase to their damage. The capstone, Crackle Bomb, grants the ability. You may remember this from other rosters, but this one explodes in green. 3 uses, 9-second cooldown, 70-meter range, direct damage basically that of a Nerf softball, explosive damage, 80 points in a 7-meter radius, 25% of which is armor piercing, all of which counts as magical and flaming damage, which otherwise doesn't exist with this character, so can only exist from items and other support. This means it is basically a way to add to his pure damage dealing and cheaply damage and break common infantry units. Shields are irrelevant, so Dread Spear's safe, so to speak. Also, Witch Elle's safe, so to speak. Well, it helps. On that note, how do we use the Master Assassin with Clan Eshin? Well, let's go over that sudden kill scheme for a second. For 1 glorious turn, with a 30-turn cooldown but a super cheap 1000 gold cost to activate. All units in all Skaven armies for Clan Eshin have Stalk, have Snipe, which means stealth is only taken away by proximity and not by the act of throwing stuff, have plus 10% speed for all units, and Gutter and Knight runners get a blanket plus 20% to missile strength. This is what you got to replace the scheme of Doom. Time it well, and you'll wreck things so hard, you'll almost feel sorry for the poor Huma. I'm kidding. You'll be laughing all the way to the bazaar. The only other ways to enhance your forces are with recruiting gutter runners, overnight runners to begin with, recruiting ones with poison for extra fun, direct magical support plus passives, and warlock engineers. Not that they've changed, so even my old video suffices, but for all their being much rarer thanks to the lack of Scheme of Doom, if you're doing an actual runner doomstack, get one if you can. So, more broadly, in Eshin, you have a massive financial penalty for recruiting non-Eshin units unless they're Skaven slaves, hero units, regiments of renown, and that's a big contract loophole right there, or other stuff like allied recruitment. Basically, you want to get what you need, but piecemeal. You also can add things like triads and death runners for spot combat and for solving specific problems. You may want to disband them later if it's a financial drain. Now, why is this? Because things like the Bloodshriek Chimera exist. Master Assassins can prey on a lot of things weaker than them and run from a lot of things stronger than them. But that Chimera has ruined more than one of my lords. Auto-resolve doesn't seem to account fully for the tactical power of flight and mobbing missile units, so either swallow the pride and auto-resolve, or get an army composition that can cope. For that, and for other reasons, basically your default runners have more flexibility and mobility, but the heavier the buffs, the more the power of the slings becomes important, whichever version. That's because they don't run out of ammo as fast, so short of having a Warlock Engineer with Arms Trader maxed, this is going to be a big problem. Less so for great ambushes, more so for long grind fests. And then, where's your front line? So these are your concerns, along with natural vulnerability to mass magic and so on. But for Eshin, armor is not a problem, and you can completely wreck medium to high armor targets unless they're really special. Your problem is more drowning in the mass of enemy health pools and lots of shields. Hence, piecemeal weapon team assistance and stuff. Hence, certain sorts of magic. If nothing else, since as Clan Eshin you get hugely increased access to Eshin sorcerers, a lot of lores you can prosper fine by normal casting stuff. Here, Veil of Shadows is so ridiculously powerful if you overcast it. Sure, against normal infantry, they're knocked down and back and shoved outside the center of the area effect like lint expelled by a blow dryer, which may provide you a chance to beeline and mob a particular character or monster, but if you overcast, stuff that doesn't happen to, characters, cavalry, monstrous infantry, single entities, will get a minus 45% reduction in speed up to 10 seconds after the final application of the debuff. As in, since they're not pushed outside, they're bathing in the debuff the whole time they're still around. Suppressed by any rattling gun unit is a further minus 30% speed. Poison from the Master Assassin himself or from gutter runners with poison is a further minus 15% speed. For brief durations, Toxic Rain from Eshin Sorcerer casting passive is another minus 10% speed. You see where I'm going with this. How do gutter runners die? They get trapped, or run over, or both. Or they get shot by so much stuff that even they can't dodge enough of it, especially magical fire. So having ways of slowing pursuers matters. Oh, and as a last-ditch effort, within 35 meters, actual gutter runners, not night runners, will dampen speed by minus 10% to their nets at work. So this is about strategic anti-cavalry defense in depth. That'll make your skirmishers a lot stronger. Your slings, they need something to help. They just do. And the Master Assassin can only do so much. Technically, I'm happy to use a Master Assassin much like I used a Witch Hunter as the get-off-my-lawn vanguard in front of my Empire firing line. He is not going to do the kind of damage a spellcaster will. He is not going to do the stuff Snitch can, because what did you not see here? Scaling damage. That's Snitch only, for Skaven anyway. The rest is therefore how he combos. To point out the fairly obvious, he combos really well with regular assassins for the Weeping Blade, but whether they can actually kill targets depends on the details of knockdowns. This, too, is why I recommend Triads and Death Runners, because Weeping Blade makes the other runners more dangerous in melee by a lot. The Triads are also a hedge against Chimeras ruining your battle. Your stock manager smiles. But basically, the Master Assassin needs time in battle to rack up the damage, and he may be efficient at it in some fights more than others, but he's mostly an oppressive presence, putting pressure on the enemy without doing obscene amounts of damage. Crackle Bomb will make that figure go up. Skills and items will make it look more dramatic in long fights, not necessarily what your army wants to brag about, but when you have someone like this, despite all the offensive tilt stat-wise, he's defensively difficult to kill. He initiates, he kites, he ties armies into knots. The smaller the battle, as in, with a few units and a couple of menace belows, against a small settlement garrison, the more he shines. Big battles may get him overwhelmed and make his impact feel smaller, but the consistency of his pressure and his squishy but high competency melee, well, he's interesting. Just keep in mind that his damage is narrow, aside from lucky high pen hits at range on infantry formations, and that he is far better weakening the enemy for the kill than killing the enemy army all by himself. Finally, in addition to my video on Weeping Blade combo units, there's also magic. Eshin sorcerers, when they do damage, are usually doing tons of armor piercing with their magic. Bulk destruction of low armored units is what you want plague priests for, and once you Weeping Blade a bunch of stuff, it's far lower armor than where it started. Speaking about Plague, what else is missing here? Siege Attacker, and not just for the Lord, but for all the units he buffs specially. So remember to take your Warp Grinder or Plague Claw Catapult card with you. Don't leave the burrow without it. This doesn't cover the role of the Master Assassin in campaign for Snitch, but he has his uses. Take care and have fun kiting the enemy with industrial quantities of 8-sided stars.